Hello and welcome to Percontation Point's video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of A Touch of Darkness by Scarlet St. Clair. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 23. Some time passes and Hades and Persephone spend some time together, or the way that I am seeing this, the author is bored with her own plot and is desperately trying to move things along. People keep writing about Persephone, although she's worried about them uncovering her own background. For now, people are satisfied with the entire was homeschooled until 18 business, but the journalist in Persephone knows that that won't be for long. She's also getting sought by random people and constantly asked about it, like, dude. And she has so many emails that she usually just deletes them without even pretending to read them. Except for this one. I know you're him. It's from Adonis, who took photos of her at Hades' place, and he's blackmailing her now for his job back because he's mature like that. Except I'm honestly not sure what he hopes to accomplish with releasing the photos, because it's not like Persephone could just go to Dimitri and say that none of it happened. Honestly, Adonis was probably already on thin ice, and Dimitri was just looking for an excuse. Furthermore, Dimitri doesn't exactly seem like the kind of fool who would easily believe that. Persephone calls him, but Adonis is apparently done playing nice and tells her 3 weeks. He also continues to miss the point of him being fired and insists that he made Persephone famous. She doesn't view it that way and goes so far as to call herself a victim. Persephone tries to go in and just flat out ask Dimitri for Adonis' job back and tries to insist that he's just misunderstood. As predicted, Dimitri isn't biting and asks if everything's okay. Persephone leaves quickly. As she retreats to her desk, she thinks that she's not going to ask Hades to deal with Adonis unless it's as a last resort. Hades later picks her up for a dinner date and she gives him head in the back of the limo. They go into a restaurant which Hades says he owns but lets people think that some random guy owns instead. As they eat, Persephone asks Hades what his interests outside of being a god of the dead are. He asks her in return and she mentions baking, which surprises him. I'd also like to remind the readers that in over 200 pages, Persephone's so-called favorite activity has been mentioned exactly twice and always in passing. He asks that she teach him how to bake, and as Persephone stares at him, she finally realizes that she's in love with him. Although I have to hand it to the author, especially after Hermes pointedly told Persephone that she was in love with Hades, that at least Persephone didn't look at Hades then and there and decide that she loved him. The bar is a tavern in the underworld at this point, but good job. Hades wants to do it right then in Persephone's apartment, but Persephone insists that she has to go prepare Alexa, which is fair. Hades agrees to drop Persephone off at home and return later after he's changed. Lexa is with some dude, and the narration has no forks to give about Lexa, so I find it really hard to care about whoever Lexa has in her bed now. The girls clean up the living room a bit before Hades shows up. Persephone is surprised that Hades even owns sweatpants, let alone that he's wearing some now. They spend about a page baking cookies and frosting them before the book finally decides that enough time has passed and the two start to make out. Lexa interrupts and invites them to watch Clash of the Titans with her and her boyfriend. As Hades leaves, Lexa asks that Persephone not do those activities in the kitchen. After the movie, they catch some sleep in Persephone's room, but Hades wakes her up in the middle of the night to do things. After they finish, guess who finally realized exactly what her daughter's been up to? It's not as if the narration itself said that weeks had passed and that there were literal multiple sources reporting on the relationship between Hades and Persephone. Demeter is hella mad and gets even angrier when Persephone has the audacity to remind her mother that she's an adult and thus can do whatever she wants. She tries to teleport Persephone away to the glass house prison but finds that she can't. She then realizes that there's a mark on Persephone's wrist, the physical mark of her contract with Hades, and then gets angry at Hades and demands he remove it. Hades refuses and states the terms of the contract. That he can't because part of it was put there by the fates. That shuts Demeter up pretty quickly. Demeter then gets angry and tells Persephone that she'd warned her to stay away from the gods, and that Persephone would soon realize why. Demeter goes on to say that after the contract is over, Persephone will come and live with her forever. She strips Persephone of her glamour before she leaves. Persephone bursts into tears, and Hades comforts her. Lexa comes in then, apparently having overheard all of that. Thin apartment walls, I'm guessing. Persephone realizes that she can't keep this a secret anymore and decides to just come clean to her friend. Chapter 24. For her part, Lexa takes the news of Persephone being a goddess surprisingly well. She's actually pretty supportive over the entire thing. And then that's apparently it. Time to move on to something that'll provide actual drama, I guess, because as I keep saying, not even the book itself cares about Lexa. Instead, we do a time skip in which Persephone does not do anything about any of her mounting problems. Instead, she just has a lot of sleepless nights in which she frets about them. One day, Persephone goes into work where Val tells her that there's a woman who has come in with info about Hades. Persephone had given them a list of questions to ask to weed out the fakers, and Val says that she seems legit, but something about her seems off, and she lied about her name. Persephone says that she'll talk with the woman and insists that she's fine to go in alone when Val asks. The woman is Aphrodite and says that she's come to offer Persephone a deal since she knows that the contract with Hades is quickly reaching its end. Also, one of those bizarre, don't you know that Google documents come with a free grammar check typos is present. I feel like I'm noticing them now a lot more. Anyway, Aphrodite tells Persephone that she herself challenged Hades to a game of cards. When she won, she challenged Hades to find somebody in the next 6 months, and then she says that she was surprised that Hades zeroed in on Persephone less than an hour after that. We don't really see the rest of the conversation between Aphrodite and Persephone. Instead, Persephone goes to the underworld intent on getting out of her contract with Hades by trying to find the Well of Resurrection Minthi told her about. She trips in the grass over a dog ball and Cerberus finds her. She asks the dog to take her to the well, and the dog takes her up the mountain. Instead of finding the promised well, she instead finds a river of fire. It doesn't take her long to figure out that this is actually Tartarus. Cerberus takes her up higher into the mountain where she finds a well, and she thinks that this is the promised reincarnation well. As she's reaching for a cup there, a voice calls out for water. Persephone finds a man chained to a pillar and offers him a drink. He introduces himself as Tantalus and tells her that Hades kept refusing an audience with him, that he's not the same man he used to be when he was initially punished. He asks for Persephone's opinion about it, but she tries to remain neutral. She insists that she has to go now, but Tantalus begs her for just a bite of fruit. She foolishly offers him some, which is when he attacks. He tries to drown her in the pool that he's been sitting in, but she plays dead until he releases her, and then she jumps out. Hades shows up then and forces the food and drink from Tantalus. Tantalus says that he just wanted Hades to know what it felt like to be denied the things that he wanted. Hades doesn't seem daunted by anything Tantalus has to say. He instead goes a step further and says that before he would deny Tantalus food and drink, now he's going to let him eat his fill, but every single bite will be like fire on the throat. He then takes Persephone to the baths of the palace. However, once they're alone, she calls him out and tells him she knows about his bout with Aphrodite. He says that his relationship with Persephone was never a game to him, but Persephone is apparently determined to self-sabotage everything good in her life. Hades calls Persephone out, even going so far as to say that everybody else in her life makes decisions for her. They rage rat, and I cannot. Immediately after Persephone is finished, she gathers her clothes and starts to walk away. Hades tries to call her back, but Persephone instead asks why he's doing all of this. Hades tells her that he saw in her power. Not only her latent powers, but the power for her to finally get away from Mother Demeter. That she needed followers in order to gain power, and she never had any because Demeter kept her locked away. That Persephone would have never announced to the world who and what she was because she was too busy kissing her mother's behind. Hades goes on and calls Persephone out, and Persephone insists that she was happy with her mother. Like, honey, you refer to your time with her as a prison, and Hades can literally taste lies. Why are you lying, girl? As Persephone storms away, Hades asks why it is that she believes Aphrodite over him. However, Persephone is having a hard time listening to him right now. And then she finally snaps when Hades tells her that the only person keeping her a prisoner is herself, and vines shoot out everywhere and string Hades up. He laughs and tells her that she just won. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to support me. The first is watching this video as well as all my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, you can find even more Snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Plus, you also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $3 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well. $3 for every 5,000 words. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys. As she retreats to her desk, she thinks that she's not going to ask Hades to deal with Adonis unless it's as... Blah. Although I have to hand it to the author, especially after Hermes pointed... Blah. Not only her latent powers, but the